Hi, everyone. We've set up this Being an Engineer podcast as an industry knowledge repository, if you will. We hope it'll be a tool where engineers can learn about and connect with other companies, technologies, people, resources, and opportunities. So make some connections and enjoy the show.
I would say the thing that I've seen from the most successful engineers on my team, it has been kind of a curiosity to learn, not only like the products that we have and that we manufacture, but also curiosity about what's going on in the market, that kind of thirst for knowledge on how to do things better.
Hello and welcome to another exciting podcast, the Being an Engineer podcast. Today we are talking with Tom Kress. Tom has been in the product design and development space for over 15 years, a creative and results-oriented engineering leader. Tom's contributions include problem-solving, analytical and technical skills, and a strong ability to lead cross-functional teams in medical and technical industries from concept to feasibility. Tom, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you decided to become an engineer originally.
So it actually started pretty young. I was always interested in math and science going through school. And so I think my sophomore year of high school, we had to do a project where we looked at kind of what majors we wanted to look at. And finding a way to kind of combine math and science together, it started gravitating towards engineering.
Yeah. Did you work on many projects when you were growing up, building forts or taking cars apart or bikes, anything like that?
It wasn't so much taking things apart. I was really interested in chemistry. So my friends and I were doing science experiments in our garages. And one of my favorites was we made underwater fireworks. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
How did your parents feel about that?
Luckily, we didn't do it at my parents' house. So,
okay. That's right. I should clarify that Tom is a chemical engineer. And actually, I wanted to ask you something about this, Tom, about being a chemical engineer specifically. I talked with a guy, another engineering leader in the medical device space a little while ago, and he said something that kind of surprised me. Not that I disagree with it at all, but I just hadn't thought about that before. He said that when he's hiring process development engineers, he likes to hire chemical engineers because for whatever reason, they have this process mentality just baked into their mindset already. Have you seen that be the case? Do you think that's true, or what are your thoughts about that in general?
So I've seen that true for me, for sure. I'm very much a process-oriented person. So I'm always looking to improve the processes where I work, to make things more efficient. I haven't hired a lot for the process engineering space, but now that you say that, it actually rings kind of true for me. So I'll have to keep that in mind if I ever end up hiring for that side. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your background. So you're a chemical engineer, but it sounds like you've done quite a lot of work in product design. Is that right?
So I wasn't planning on being in the medical device space at all. I got an opportunity when I was a freshman in college. One of my friends, their dad owned a small contract design firm and asked me to come work over a winter break. So I was doing that, and then I came back the next summer, and I was doing a lot of work on the molding machines that they were using back there, and we were actually molding these leads for a pacemaker for Medtronic. And it was funny because I was telling my grandfather about that project that I was working on, and he asked me, he's like, "Oh, what company is it that you're doing those for?" And I told him, and he's like, "That's the pacemaker that I have in right now." And I'm just blown away by that. And I think it was like from that point forward that I started seriously looking at medical device and being in the design space, because that was such like a huge impact for me. So when I got back to school, I started looking at taking more biology classes and looking more at like hemodynamics and starting getting a little bit more in that space as well. And I pushed to get kind of a minor in bioengineering as well, because I was a little late in the game to switch. So
That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so you're a leader in the medical device engineering space, and I think oftentimes engineers look up to leaders and wonder, how did they get there? You know, what did they do to achieve that position? Can you talk a little bit about that? What do you think maybe one or two of the most influential factors are that allowed you to climb into the position of leadership that you're in?
yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I've been very lucky with my managers as I've gone through my career, and they've all been very supportive, and I've been open with them about wanting to lead people. And, I think I spent a lot of time gaining skills that were necessary so that the technical aspect of leading engineers was there. But then just trying to kind of find ways to build up some of that managerial experience without necessarily being a manager or having people directly reporting into me. So looking for ways to lead teams in initiatives, lead projects, that kind of stuff, where you have to be in that position where you're delegating work and kind of, motivating people to get the task done, while not, being a direct manager to them. So I think that was a big thing that I was looking for, and all of my managers were very supportive in pursuing that stuff.
That's a big deal, having supportive managers and mentors along the way. As you climbed that ladder into a leadership position, did you ever feel a sense of imposter syndrome?
Absolutely. I remember when I started as a senior manager at BD, I was talking to my wife and I was like, I know I had the skill set to do this, but at the same time, why did they hire me? So yeah, I think for a while I never managed a team that big. I'd never had that much responsibility before. So for sure, I walked into that and, trying to trust that they saw something in me and trust my experience and my background that I was able to do that. So absolutely, I've felt that before.
I think that's very common. Beyond the trust that you had in those who hired you, did you implement any tools in particular that helped you manage those feelings while you had them of imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I think it was, I spent time really just understanding what I wanted to do in this position, like what my goals were. Obviously aligned to what the business needed, but it was my first time being in a management position where I didn't also have to be an individual contributor. So, I tried looking back at past managers that I had, what they did that I liked, that I could use, other groups that I've been a part of where I've been really excited about the work that we're doing and trying to draw on some of that. And then I had done my MBA, so trying to draw on some of the stuff that we learned from other companies and how they've organized teams and done work that way. I tried to kind of pick and choose stuff that fit my style. And so I think to get over the imposter syndrome, it was kind of focusing on doing that work and then, gradually introducing that stuff to the team and meeting the team. I started getting more comfortable in the position and starting to feel like, I was capable of doing this and succeeding.
Yeah. I think that's a sign that we're growing, right? When we start to feel a little uncomfortable. I've never led a team this size before. It's a sign of growth and an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what trends are you seeing these days in medical device manufacturing? Whether it's something about new processes that are being used, or materials, or just what patterns have you noticed emerging in the past few years in medical device manufacturing?
So I think a lot of the stuff that we've been looking at within my group with operations here, specifically around material selection and processes, is we do a lot of machining work. So a lot of times, we're taking material away. You have to remove a lot of material if you're starting with these big blocks. So looking at ways to kind of combine some of the CNC aspects with additive manufacturing or casting so that you can get the shape close and then, clean up with the CNC to get the tight tolerancing.
Yeah.
It helps a lot with making sure you get the precision that's needed while not compromising on the design intent. So I know that's something that we've been spending a lot of time looking into is how to, manufacture things faster or less expensive methods for delivering materials and components.
Sure. You mentioned additive manufacturing. If you're using metal additive manufacturing, have you found a way to do that cost effectively? That's been something that we've looked into at Pipeline in the past, and every time we do, the cost to do it is it's so high. We've never been able to find a way to get a good ROI on that investment.
Yeah, that's hard, and it's something that I do see with manufacturing with additive is unless you're getting the batch sizes, a lot of the cost is coming from time on the machine. You can get really cool shapes out of stuff. It's just hard to do a lot of something at one time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of where we've struggled. We look at CNC or we look at injection molding and we can get more competitive prices sometimes that way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the engineers that you lead, specifically the habits or traits or behaviors that they have. What are the habits, traits, behaviors that you've seen in the most successful engineers, and then also in the most successful engineering teams?
So I would say the thing that I've seen from the most successful engineers on my team, it has been kind of a curiosity to learn, not only like the products that we have and that we manufacture, but also curiosity about what's going on in the market, talking to a bunch of different people across the company to understand things that they're doing that we might be able to implement. So there's that kind of thirst for knowledge on how to do things better or how to do things more cost effectively. The other thing that I've seen too is they are very independent and they are able to trust in themselves and their ability to do things right and get things done, and looking for help as it's needed, either from myself or from the cross-functional team. So I think it's really just having that drive and having that curiosity to keep learning.
Yeah, I'll add a couple of things there. Two others that come to mind for me are persistence. I think that 9 times out of 10, or maybe even 99 times out of 100, it's the persistent engineer who's smart enough, maybe not the smartest guy in the room or girl, but at least smart enough, but very, very persistent, tenacious, just won't stop attacking the problem, that succeeds. And then the other one is, well, you mentioned this actually, willingness to ask questions. I've worked with some engineers in the past where they felt, I guess, a little embarrassed to ask questions. They didn't want to admit that they didn't know something. Mm-hmm. And we all don't know something. There are plenty of things I don't know. But it's not productive, right? For them to just sit there kind of spinning their wheels when they could ask someone else and get an answer very quickly and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I know early in my career, I did struggle with that aspect for sure. I felt embarrassment, or I felt like I should know this thing. But I think, started trusting that I knew what I was doing and that I was smart enough. But understanding, like you said, that I don't know everything, but other people have very good information as well, or they have a different perspective that I may not have thought about, or a different way of thinking than I have. So it's good. It became a little bit more natural and a little easier to ask for questions and for help.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some confidence that comes with age and maturity, looking back and seeing the solutions you have come up with, and then it becomes maybe a little bit easier to ask because you know that you know what you're doing, even if you don't know everything. Well, what are some of the most valuable technical skills that you want to see in your engineers?
So a lot of it for me is really their problem-solving abilities, how they think through problems. You kind of mentioned this earlier, but how they attack problems. So that's definitely something that I look for, because I don't think there's ever been an engineering project that I've worked on that we haven't run into a problem. So I think kind of understanding how they go about doing that and their problem-solving abilities. I like that. I look for that a lot as I'm hiring. And then, from the technical side, I think it depends kind of on the function that I'm hiring for. I've hired for systems engineering, for mechanical, for electrical, and for optical as well. And I think each kind of function has different things that you want to look for from a technical standpoint. So I know with systems engineering, a lot of it for me is, how do you write requirements? How do you go about trace matrix, setting those up? How do you look at architecture? How well do you understand kind of the other cross functions that you need to pull together? So, from that side, and then mechanical engineering, I'm looking for their mechanical design, how they go about designing parts, how they go about doing like finite element analysis, those kind of things as well. I really try to look for, I guess, using the mechanical engineering experience that they have, and the skill sets that they have to bring to the table. So I think it really just depends on the discipline that I'm hiring for in terms of the technical skills that I look for.
Yeah, well said. I've worked with a lot of mechanical engineers myself in the past, and one thing I've noticed is that the mechanical engineers who work with their hands outside of their job, whether it's fixing their car or doing projects around the house, but the ones who are building things outside of their job, they tend to be the ones who perform the best as mechanical engineers. And then there are others who they understand the theory. Conceptually, they understand engineering and the equations and where the buttons are in CAD, but they just don't seem to be as successful as the other ones. They seem to struggle a little bit, to be honest. So whenever I'm hiring a mechanical engineer, I like to ask about what they do in their free time. And if I hear that they're working on their car or building something at home, that to me is a really great positive indication.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I'll have to incorporate that.
You've got 2 ideas now for hiring.
I know.
Chemical for process and building things for mechanical is great.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's take a very short break here so I can share with the listeners that our company, Pipeline Design and Engineering, develops new and innovative manufacturing processes for complex products, then implements them into manual fixtures or fully automated machines to dramatically reduce production costs and improve production yields for OEMs. Will you be attending the Medical Design and Manufacturing (MD&M) trade show this February in Anaheim? If so, we'd love to meet you face-to-face. Stop by our booth, number 1992, and say hi. We'll have hands-on demos of our Easy R&D product line for you to experience as well. That's booth 1992, February 6th through 8th for the MD&M trade show at the Anaheim Convention Center. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Tom Kress. Tom, what are a couple of your biggest challenges as an engineering leader?
So I came up being an engineer. I enjoy being an engineer and doing the technical stuff. I think one of the things that I struggle with sometimes being a leader is the politics and having to deal with the politics. I would also say having sometimes to convince people to do things because it's the right thing from a technical standpoint and getting pushback on budget and resourcing.
Yeah.
I think those are things that I struggle with as a leader, and learning to manage a little bit better so that I can try and remove some of those roadblocks. But I feel like sometimes that gets in the way of the fun, which is the engineering and the technical side of things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of politics, for especially maybe some younger engineers who might be listening to this, who haven't had the opportunity to experience politics in the workplace for themselves, of course, like without naming names or anything, specific details or anything like that, but can you share an example or even a rough example of what do you mean when you say politics?
So, in kind of general terms, I would say that people are drawn to other people, and they form relationships with those people. And I think if they build good relationships with them, they like to help them out, and do things for them. You can ask for favors, and they'll be more inclined to do things for you. And I think on the flip side of that, there are people that kind of get aligned that form little cliques, and they, look out for those people that are close to them and kind of stay away from the people that aren't in that circle.
Yeah.
And so, especially in leadership positions, as they get pulled up, they bring up the people that are close to them, and maybe stay away from other people or don't look necessarily in that direction.
Yeah.
Also, we go through reorganizations and stuff like that. So in terms of who to keep on which teams and that kind of stuff, it has influence there as well.
So potentially less of a meritocracy and more of a, well, like you said, like a high school clique almost. Who's in the in crowd, right?
Yeah. But I think, it has impacts with, we've seen a lot in the market recently in terms of layoffs, but who are those people that get chosen for that? Because a lot of times it's not merit based, right? They look at the structure, they eliminate the position and stuff like that. So I think that plays a role there as well. Yeah.
It's an unfortunate reality. Nevertheless, I think there's a really important lesson in there, which is to be successful in your career as an engineer, but in any professional position, really, it's about more than just the technical skills. You have to have the technical skills, of course, but you also need to have the people skills. And it is worth investing some time developing strong relationships with others on the team, at the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a really good way to do that is to find a mentor at your company or even outside your company to talk through situations with, ask about how to approach things, how to present ideas. I know that was really helpful for me to build up those people skills and be able to be flexible and adaptable as I'm talking to different people, because everybody has their different communication style, and kind of figuring that out and framing things in a way to speak to that. It takes time and practice, but it helps if you have people to bounce ideas off of.
I love that you mentioned mentors. I think that is such a crucial component of any engineer's growth. And I'm going to use this as a opportunity for a shameless plug for thewave.engineer. This is a new community that my team has put together. It's live right now, thewave.engineer, THEWAVE.engineer. And there are a lot of useful tools, community education on the Wave that engineers can benefit from. But one that I think maybe is one of the most important, is a mentor section where there are, I think we have maybe 8 or 10 right now, senior level engineers who have been there, done that, right? They have deep experience in the industry. They understand something about politics. They also understand the technical side of things. And these are engineers who have been willing to be mentors to younger engineers. So if you're a younger engineer listening to this, and for whatever reason, you can't find the right mentor at your organization, go to thewave.engineer and check out the mentor section, and you can reach out and connect with these people directly. I mean, they've created profiles there because they want to mentor younger engineers. So that's a great free resource. Go check it out. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program here. Tom, so we talked a little bit about a few of your biggest challenges as an engineering leader. What do you think are some of the big challenges facing medical device companies these days?
So it's kind of the same answer in a different light, politics. I think, having leaders in Washington in place that really support some of the initiatives that some of the med device companies are trying to do is really important. And in terms of controlling the regulations and all of that stuff as well. I think that's something that has a big impact on companies in different spaces. I know when I worked for Cineus, there were a lot of bill proposals around how clinics were set up with their patients and how often they could be open, and that has direct impact on sales of the company in terms of their devices and their clinics and how many people they can hire and that kind of stuff as well. So I don't think it's something that we see all the time or think about all the time, but it definitely has an impact.
Yeah, it all goes back to people in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Well, let's see, what's a tool that, if this tool existed, would help your team perform, 10 times, 100 times better than they can today? And this can be anything outside the realm of known physics, even. Let your imagination go crazy. What tool do you wish you had that doesn't exist right now that would really dramatically increase the productivity of your team?
I could think of a solution and it would pop up right in front of me so that I could go test it. That would be
this sounds like an AI related solution here. That's where I feel like it's going.
I know. No, I mean, having to wait for lead times and work through complicated limitations on manufacturing processes just to get parts to go and test.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you have an idea for like a new part, and all of a sudden that part is just immediately there in front of you.
In my hand, and I could just go test it.
Ooh, that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. That really, the heart of that is saving time, right? Finding ways to be faster.
Yeah, I think if we find ways to free up time, we can get more done. We have too much to do and not enough time to do it.
Yeah. Nor enough resources, usually.
Yeah, that too.
Well, a follow-up to that, if you had no limitations on time or other resources, money, people, whatever it is, what is the one thing that you do for your company that would have the most significant impact on achieving its business goals?
I don't have a good answer for that. I think that one thing I could think of is in the AI space when we talk about how much data is generated at our companies, finding ways that our company could utilize all of that data in an efficient way to, I don't know, create synergies between the different business units and aid in sharing of information and that kind of stuff. I could see us doing useful things with all of that data. I don't think we have the time or resources to understand all of the data that we have and what it's telling us. But yeah, I think that would be really interesting to kind of see what that kind of stuff could tell us and how it could direct us in ways to improve processes or improve product designs.
Well, hopefully that is an area where AI can eventually help. It seems like we're not too far off actually there.
I hope not.
The latest version of ChatGPT, you can upload data sets and have it analyze things, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
How do you see the future of medical devices in the U.S. changing over the next 3, 4, or 5 years?
I mean, we just kind of touched on it, I think. But I think AI getting into devices more and more. And, you know, I've worked on mainly electromechanical devices, so we haven't done a lot with AI in those spaces. But, you know, the instruments that we work on do generate a lot of data. And I think if we're able to understand that a little bit better, we can be more predictive about component or assembly failures that could help, you know, servicing instruments, you know, scheduling preventative maintenance kind of stuff. I could definitely see, like, you know, instrumentation being able to inform the company in terms of what's needed and when. I think that would really help the customer experience as well.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have as much downtime on their instruments and wouldn't have as many unplanned, I think, visits to their, you know, to their homes and to their companies as well, labs, etc.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think just 1 or 2 more questions and we'll wrap things up here. Specifically within the context of your role as an engineer, what is one thing that frustrates you? And conversely, one thing that brings you joy?
So as an engineer, I think the thing that brings me the most joy is when I solve a particularly difficult problem.
Yeah. What a magical feeling.
Yeah, it really is. And that is why I continue to be an engineer. Like I said earlier, you're always running into problems, but when you've got one that just can't seem to figure out and then it clicks, you go home feeling very good that day.
Definitely, yeah.
And then I think a thing that can be frustrating as an engineer too is knowing that you have a really good idea, but having it not be the one that bubbles up to the surface. I think that is really frustrating. Especially, and I've been in situations where, you know, you move forward with the solution that was chosen and you run into problems and you're like, I could have told you that was going to happen. I think that's really frustrating from an engineering standpoint.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, Tom, thank you so much for being with me today and sharing some of your experiences and insights with all of the listeners. How can people get in touch with you?
I think the best way is on LinkedIn. You can look me up there.
Okay. No home address, huh?
Not today.
Okay. Perfect. Well, Tom, thanks again so much.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
I'm Aaron Monker, founder of Pipeline Design and Engineering. If you liked what you heard today, please share the episode. To learn how your team can leverage our team's expertise developing turnkey equipment, custom fixtures, and automated machines, and with product design, visit us at teampipeline.us. Thanks for listening.